Hello there, I hope you are having a fantastic day. My name is Bento, aka MANEDBENTO, and I cannot believe that we are celebrating 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. That is absolutely mind-blowing to me. 10,000 of you people out there have tuned in to see my goofy content, me dress up as a goofy cartoon animal and just do random shenanigans and spread joy. Honestly, I'm kind of speechless right now, but I want to say first off, thank you so much. So on my community tab, I did make a post where I would be doing a Q&A. So we're going to answer some of those questions in a little bit, but first off, I kind of want to just give a little introduction to myself if you're new to the channel, or if you just happen to stumble across this because of the YouTube algorithm gods. So I go by MANEDBENTO, and my fursona's name is of course Bento, and he is actually a maned wolf, and I absolutely love maned wolves so much because they are so tall, they're goofy looking, and if you Google a picture or look right here, you can see they kind of look like a goofy fox on stilts with kind of an awkward long face, and they typically tend to kind of do their own thing, and I feel like that definitely feels like a part of me. So I wanted to create a character that embodied that style in a way that was super friendly, approachable, and just served as a light and a joy to those around him. So I'm relatively recent to the world of like furry content creation. I've done a lot of content creation for other channels and stuff before, different creative projects, but this one has been the most fun by far. I'm also super heavy into music production and DJing and stuff like that, so I've kind of been weaving in some of my creative passions into my love for fursuiting and the furry fandom. But you're probably waiting to jump into the Q&A portion of this video, and I'm excited to get that started, so let's get into it. So this first question is from Thrifted Trinkets, and they ask, what caused you to land on a maned wolf fursona? Also, congratulations on the 10K. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Again, I did create my maned wolf fursona because I love how goofy they are. That really just resonates with me, and I feel like they're just so fun, lovable, and awkward. Kind of like me. Frisk's World says, what is your favorite Disney film? They are a huge Tron and Tron Legacy fan. That is such a tough question. I gotta say, way back in the day, like in the, I think it was 80s, I honestly forgot, but the original Aristocats movie, chef's kiss. That was a fantastic movie. Low-key probably part of the reason that I'm a furry, but it's just such a fun movie. And if you love cats and just like goofy animals and stuff, I think you'll love that one. So I'd say Aristocats is one of my favorites, and I'd probably say The Incredibles. Classic movies. Caramel White says, what is your favorite furry related story that has happened to me? Ooh, I actually made a YouTube short on this, but I remember when my brother and I went to a Comic Con. This is actually the first one that we ever went to, and it was one of my first times kind of in public, public suiting. But we were taking a break outside, and there were some food trucks and stuff. And there was one person who came by riding on this bicycle, and he shouted at the top of his lungs and was like shouting these things at me. And everybody kind of looked at him like he was crazy, and it was kind of just an awkward situation. After that, the crowd was kind of like, what is his problem? Like, you're totally fine. You should have like ran after him. I'm like, that would have been a little bit awkward. But later in that day, when I was walking back to my car, I also heard a shout from behind me, and I was honestly scared. I had flashbacks of earlier that same day. But actually, this was a group of young women, and they were super happy to see a fursuiter in real life. I think they said it was their first time they've actually seen one outside of like TikTok or something. And so they literally ran towards me with open arms, and I was like, you know what? Let's just give them a big old bear hug. And so it was a super wholesome moment, and oh man, that was such a fun moment. So the day went from kind of awkward to really wholesome. Art Dashi says, do you have any favorite singers or bands? If so, who are they? I love all types of music, almost all types. Country. But some of my favorite singers, if you're looking for some really cool indie artists, I would definitely recommend Vancouver Sleep Clinic. Oh my gosh, he has the voice of an angel. The way that he sings kind of in falsetto, a little bit higher. It's some moving stuff. And then also Gregory Alan Isikoff is also sort of a folk Americana indie songwriter, and he has just a wonderful voice. Random ASF account for zero reason, love that username, says, congrats. How do you feel during or after cons when you go to them? Honestly, I've only been to one major fur con, and that was GSFC this year, and oh my gosh, that was such a magical time. I got to see some of my friends online and meet some really creative, amazing people, and it was honestly one of the best times I have ever had, a very healing experience for me. And I feel like going from that super high dopamine, that emotional high, immediately to the car ride home, you know, I was like, man, that was so fun. So it was a little bit depressing afterwards, but I still had all those photos that I was looking through my camera roll, all these stories and stuff on my Instagram, and I was like, I'm never gonna forget these people. Stars Pause, I think that's how you say it, says, congrats. My question is, how do you get started on a fursuit as a beginner? I'm a starter and already have a fursona, but I'm only 13, so I don't know where to start. Honestly, that is so cool that you already have a character and a fursona. Congratulations. That is like the kind of first main step, I guess, to, you know, creating a fursuit and kind of diving in a little bit further into the furry fandom. So congratulations. I would probably recommend at your age to start saving up a little bit of money here and there. If you got like birthdays or something like that, save up some of your money, or you can always sell some stuff that you don't maybe use anymore. Maybe do a yard sale and sell some of your old stuff so you can have a little bit of money. And you can actually create a fursuit head for a pretty good price. I think I spent like $300 or $400 total in just the materials for the head, the arms, and the paws, and the tail. So you can do it for pretty cheap. At the end of the day, fursuits are a luxury. They're more of a commodity, but if you are looking to save some money, you can definitely try creating them yourself and save a lot of money. And plus, it's super fun to make, and you learn some really great life skills at the same time. If you do have access to like a sewing machine or like a nice mannequin head, I would definitely recommend investing in those so that you can kind of save yourself some time in the long run. But really, you can do a lot of this stuff by hand sewing. I followed a tutorial from Fursuit from scratch, and also some stuff from Spilt Grape Soda. They are awesome creators, and I think they are probably some of the best resources to creating these fursuits, and you can definitely check out some patterns and templates on Etsy. And for those of you who don't know, you can actually purchase these printable PDFs that you can basically trace out patterns onto your foam and then cut it out and basically create your head as kind of like a build it yourself DIY guide. And that's actually what I did for my fursuit head. I used the Fursuit UK Fox V2 template, and of course I did modify it quite heavily to make it look a little bit more like a maned wolf, but they are great starting points if you know that you want your fursuit to look a specific type of a way. You also have some wiggle room for some creativity to make it look more unique. But Fursuit from scratch is great for video tutorials, and then any sort of templates on Etsy, I'd recommend checking those out. Eggs and Hamsters says, "Aw, nice, you deserve it. Where do you suggest to get materials like faux fur?" So I got all of my faux fur from Howl Fabric, and I also have used Big Z Fabrics too for another commission that I'm working on right now. Honestly, they're very similar quality, but I do kind of prefer the Howl Fabric, but they're a little bit pricier, and they do take a lot longer to restock, and shipping is, it's a little bit pricey. Finn still says, how have you managed so much confidence when suiting in public, and how can someone like me who is extremely extroverted but low self-confidence get to your level of self-esteem? So a little fun fact about me, even though I may come off super, you know, enthusiastic and kind of bubbly and everything, I am sort of an introvert. Like, I did suffer a lot from social anxiety, but I will say that fursuiting and using this costume has definitely helped me open up and become a lot more sociable, learn how to interact with different people, and build up that self-confidence. So to this day, suiting up, you know, that first 5-10 minutes when you're actually putting on the costume outside in public, it's kind of terrifying and you feel like an absolute buffoon. But as soon as you step in, it's almost like the world outside of you just closes up. Nobody can see who you are in the inside, and really you just embrace this form of a really fun, goofy cartoon mascot. And honestly, just running with that and embracing the character, making people's days brighter, and kind of speed running through social interactions, meeting new people, having these short conversations, it really does build up your self-esteem and your ability to talk with other people at the same time. Britterbug says, question, what is your favorite OC of yours? If you can't choose one, then just a few. So I actually have a ton of OCs. I probably have close to 20, I would say. I went through this phase last year, or even before that, when I was creating bento. I wanted to also create like one of almost every type of animal that I could think of. And I was like, I want to make like a possum. I want to make a bullfrog. I want to make a shoebill stork. So I literally have like almost 20 OCs, and probably one of my favorites, of course, is Bento, the maned wolf, but I also have one that I might make a second suit of, or just try to do some designs of, and their character name is Lazarus, and they are a possum. Of course, that name kind of ties in with the biblical figure who died and then rose from the dead, so I feel like that's a little bit of a play on words, and the name is like really fitting for a possum who plays dead. Cat Whiskers says, if any fursuit owner would give you their fursuit, whose would you take? Ooh, that is a really interesting question. So there are so many creative fursuits out there and fursuiters. Oh my gosh. Just off the top of my head, I absolutely love Astra's fursuit. I think it's so cool with these sort of galaxy cat style of a fursuit and the patterns. I think it is so creative, and I feel like that would be such a fun fursuit to have. I also feel like Gerb's fursuit would be so fun to own. I absolutely love the deer Sona of his. He is just such a cute character, and I feel like that would be a really fun suit to have as well. Aaron Ebling says, hi, hello there. I love your videos, and my question is, do you play an instrument? They play the trumpet. That is so cool that you play the trumpet. I feel like playing the trumpet with just 3 fingers, like all of those notes, I feel like my brain could not comprehend that. But for me personally, I grew up playing the piano, so I play keys. I also played the flute in junior high, so I was in the orchestra, which is not really super common, I would say, of an instrument for, you know, a 7th grader dude to play, but hey, I feel like I slayed it. I did play first flute on a couple of songs, so we'll say I sort of knew what I was doing. Granny Green says, did you ever have previous fursonas or fursuits? If so, can we know which is your favorite or least favorite? My first OC's name was Oscar, and I think he was like a dog or like a coyote or something. So in high school, I did try to create a fursuit, and I didn't have the best access to tools. I honestly spent the least amount of money and didn't have shears or anything, so I just kind of did a little hack job with some scissors, and it didn't turn out the greatest. Now he kind of looks like Oscar the Grouch, and honestly, I should go get him real quick. Hold on. I still have him. I do still have him. Oh my goodness. So this is my first fursuit head I ever made in high school. He looks a little raggedy right now, but honestly, I feel like I did a pretty good job for limited resources. I don't even think I bought upholstery foam. I bought a car wash foam sponge from the 99-cent store and glued it to a beanie. No balaclava, I just straight up glued it to the beanie. His mouth is a little goofy here. But honestly, I feel like if I gave him a proper shave down and maybe did like a refurb or something, he could actually look kind of cool. You guys think I should do that? Let me know down below in the comments. I'm gonna set him right there. Kinda Kovo says, hi, what got you into being a DJ, and do you have any music we can go listen to? Honestly, I feel like my love for electronic music started when Skrillex released all of his like dubstep stuff way back in like even slightly before the 2010s. I just loved that sort of electronic dance music. And when I saw him, those videos on YouTube and documentaries on his stuff, I was like, he is the coolest dude. I've never heard music like this before. I was like, man, I want to be like him one day. And so even me here today at 26 years old, I still would love to be like him, go on tours and stuff, do DJ, events and festivals, but you got to take it one step at a time. And so for that first step, I actually have an album planning to release on July 5th. It's called Bring the Noise. And it has been so much fun working on this music. I've honestly been creating and producing music for so many years. But I finally thought, you know what? This isn't going to do me any good just sitting on my hard drive. I'm going to put something out into the world just like I did with Bento. And who knows, maybe something will happen with it. So if you want to hear some of my music, some really obnoxious rave electronic dubstep style music, then you can check out Bring the Noise on July 5th at midnight. Sarah, the editor, says, how was it like first telling people you were a furry? Were you scared or confident? So that's honestly something that I'm still figuring out right now. Of course, this being a hobby that not necessarily everybody understands, I feel like you have to be careful with who you tell. Obviously, you should be able to express yourself however you want to, and those who, will support you, you're going to want to surround yourself with those type of people. But in reality, some people are going to take it differently, and some people are going to be like, whoa, that is the coolest thing. So I started with those type of people. I went to my closest friends, and I feel like they already knew because they saw me with these, you know, Nomad Complex t-shirts. I feel like that was a great way to kind of soft launch, just repping some furry clothing and stuff like that. But I did tell my closest friends and I was like, hey, you guys want to see something really cool? I'm making this costume and it's kind of crazy, but honestly, this is a character that I made. What do you guys think? And honestly, they loved it so much. Even my family eventually came around to absolutely loving this character and this costume. But I think finding those people who definitely know you and trust you, and that you also have built that level of trust, being able to show them, hey, this is one of my hobbies, I want to share it with you, let's kind of have some fun with it. But I think just like being honest and saying, you know, this is a hobby, this is, at the end of the day, it's a way for me to be artistic, it's a way for me to have fun as an adult outside of my 9 to 5 in a not so typical way that for some reason just resonates with me. I think spinning it in that direction definitely helps, you know, calm any people's misconceptions or nerves, and it makes it more fun because it's 2025 and I feel like people are becoming a lot more accepting. And the last question is from Jesse K9X. Why is your name Maned Bento? So, Bento, maned wolf, Maned Bento. I was doing some research when creating the character. I was looking at some Brazilian kind of common men's names, and Bento was one of them. And I thought, that's actually a cute name for a character. And I thought, you know, bento boxes, you know, they're like a meal. They're kind of small. They're cool. I feel like that works. Plus, I always like telling people that, you know, my name's Bento. I'm a full snack. So hopefully this answered some of your questions. And again, this has been such a fun ride so far, and the growth recently has been absolutely crazy. You've been so supportive, and honestly, this fandom has been some of the most creative people I've ever experienced, and I have made some amazing friends. And I hope you do too, if you decide to, you know, start to put yourself out there and start doing this, you know, content creation or just goofing around and, you know, expressing yourself through costume. So with that being said, I hope you have a fantastic day, and thank you again for 10,000 subscribers, and I can't wait to keep making more videos and stuff. Let me know if you like this sort of long form content, because I do make a lot of the like Instagram reels and shorts style of videos, but I think occasionally doing some long form stuff could be really fun. Hope you have an amazing day, and I will see you guys in the next one. So that hopefully answers some of your questions. This was a ton of fun, and oh! And honestly, I almost stopped recording. Holy no.